Okay, so that was fun. Um, I say that, I actually haven't edited the part of the video that comes before this part yet, so maybe it wasn't fun? I think it was fun. Anyways, yeah, so, that was another time. I did give a little bit of a brief extra thoughts on the game. I don't know if I left those in. I'm not sure, because I haven't edited that part yet. But, I am going to give more in-depth final thoughts than my brief ones. Now, if you did not watch my thoughts on Part 73, they basically boiled down to, this game sucks, and, let's see, well, what did they boil down to? I like Quark, I like Temioji, I like Lagomorph, I like Golem, everybody else is boring, except Dio sucks. What else did they have? I talked about how this game was one big piece of filler. And it's hard to say much good or bad as far as ending goes, because there really is no ending. Yeah, just a lot of negativity in that last one. Spoilers, there will be some negativity in this one, but I will try to also look at more at the positive side of this game, because it exists. I was kind of mostly ignoring it in the last one. I pretty much said Quark, Lagomorph, and Temioji were cool, and Golem, and everything else sucked, but that's not true. First of all, Sigma. Yeah, are we gonna start with characters? I had a thing in mind of how I want to start this, and then I kind of just went on a track. But, I do think I want to start with Sigma, because if you watched my last one already, you don't want to hear the same thing over and over right away. So, this is something I didn't mention at all in my last one. As a protagonist, Sigma is awesome. Junpei was fine in 999, but Sigma was amazing because, maybe it's just because we both have pervy minds. Pervy minds think alike, but just following him was really cool. He seemed like, the generic good guy most of the time, but I feel like he had that perfect level of likable perviness, which got kind of creepy when you found out he was actually 67 years old. But, that aside, it was really cool to relate to him, and finding out that he's Zero, knowing him as Zero, you don't really know him that well. We're probably going to get to know him a lot more in Zero Time Dilemma. But, Junpei grew up to be a cool old guy. Maybe Sigma will too. To be fair, Sigma is wasting away most of his life for a chance for this thing to work. Then again, he'll be going into his younger body. So will he be able to live out more life anyway? So he'll get to live out his young life as the old man? Will he be okay with that? How will his personality have changed? I wonder. I'm very curious how they're going to handle that. Although I'm going to get into my Zero Time Dilemma thoughts towards the end of this. So I'm going to start by talking about this game. So Sigma, he was a great protagonist. I loved him. A lot of fun to play as him. Okay. Now let's start with the place I was going to start originally. So, one thing I stressed pretty heavily in my original video was that Dio sucks. A lot. And I hate to sound like a broken record, but as much as I want to talk about the positives of this game, Dio is not one of them. He does suck. A lot. That has not changed. My opinion on that is pretty much the same. All of his reveals are bad. I will talk a bit more about this, why I feel like he really doesn't work as a villain. Like, his reveals are bad. I've said that over and over. But let's talk about why I don't think he's a very good character either. Because, you can have a great villain, and he just has a shitty reveal. Alright, I just spent the last few minutes arguing in my head how I want to do this. Fuck it. I'm about to spoil a villain from Ace Attorney. If you are not, if you haven't played the first Ace Attorney game, skip this to the point in the video where I point out, because I really want to make an example of this, and I don't know how to do it without spoiling something. So anyways, an example of, I think, a really good villain that just has a shitty reveal is Von Karma from the first Ace Attorney. Because they give it away to you in a really dumb fashion. It's like, at a point when you might be thinking it's Von Karma, but you don't know for sure. Like, I remember when I first played that, I was predicting it might be, but there was nothing at all like, oh, it's obviously him. And then you talk to Grossberg, and you get this handwriting analysis done, And then Grossberg's just like, oh, who do you think it is? And you're given 3 options. Is it the dead guy? Is it Edgeworth? Or is it Von Karma? Gee, who do you think it is? So that was one of the cases where really bad reveal, but he was still a really good villain. Which is why I love the Ace Attorney movie, because they make the reveal better. Which, by the way, if you have not played the first Ace Attorney, watch the first movie. I keep telling this to everybody, because the first movie, I feel, does the plot better than the game. Also, the anime is going to be coming out soon. I'll have to watch that and see if my recommendation changes at all. But, getting back to this game, Dio doesn't have a good reveal, but also is not a good villain. Now, let's compare him to something that I know you will have seen. Ace in 9 Hours, 9 Persons, 9 Doors. Ace is up there as one of my favorite villains, just period. I feel like he's really well done. Now, pre-reveal, what do you know about him? He is, he's a nice, kind old guy. He's something of a team leader at times. He's also very courageous, as you see he tries to sacrifice himself. And then what about post-reveal? It's like a switch is flipped. Suddenly his personality is completely different. At times it seems like he's completely devoid of emotion. He's just 100% practical and calculating, and he's just got this completely sinister look, different than anything you've seen before. And even though they make him super evil and cold, which is awesome, they give him a tinge of sympathy and kind of a relatable story as to how he got this way. Because he has that disease where he can't distinguish faces. Now, no matter who you are, you can pretty much, well, unless you're blind, but then you could also distinguish with a certain other... Anyways, you can relate to that to an extent, because, he talks about how it's like looking at monkeys. Like, how or looking at Asians, am I right? No, I'm sorry, that's racist. But everybody knows the joke. Like, you look at the person and they look the exact same. Or looking at 2 twins. It's like, everybody in the world's a twin. Everybody in the world's a Dio! That's what it would be like. They actually relate in that sense. I didn't even think about that. But counter. Take a shot every time I say I was listening to my initial final thoughts. Oh my god, I said so many times. I don't know what I just say a lot. Yes, so, God, I'm going on too many tangents. To be specific, Dio, no, I'm still on Ace. Don't go to Dio yet. Don't jump the gun. Don't jump the golden gun from 999. Yeah, they gave him a tinge of sympathy because, again, the faces thing is something, like, you're not, anybody can kind of relate to how that must feel. And it would suck to feel that way. And he just wanted to see faces. He wanted to manipulate the morphogenic field to see faces, and it's cool that they gave him something you could relate to. It's a simple, easily understandable motivation. Yes, he's still evil and crazy, but it's still really cool about him. Now, let's talk about Dio. What do we know about him pre-reveal? He's kind of a jerk. He likes to act cool, even though no one's buying it. And he's, in fact, a jerk with a hidden heart of bigger jerk. Because I don't consider him trying to kill you a reveal. The pathway that, where is it? Quark's pathway? The pathway where he attempts to use Quark's life as leverage and attempts to kill you, that's not a reveal to me. Because that's just him being strategic to the extreme that he doesn't give a shit about human life. He just wants to get out and save himself. And that's not making him necessarily the villain. It's making him a douchebag, the Yoshbag. But, we didn't know at all about him planting the bombs or him being the knife-wielding woman killer. So that's not really part of the reveal. If anything, that's just kind of, revealing hidden depths to his character before you find out there's other depths that are basically the same. But yeah, post-reveal, what is he? More of the same, really. He's just more jerk with heart of jerk. In fact, he's cocky jerk with heart of jerk. You know how I said Ace was really practical? That's one of the things I find cool about Ace is, he does a lot of sneaky shit, to try and get his way, and he doesn't really give a shit about anyone. To be fair, Dio doesn't either. But Dio sometimes uses the fact that he doesn't care about anyone to try to make them suffer or something, and tries to be, like, cocky about it, because he wants them to suffer and be like, oh yeah, revel in my evilness. Ace isn't like that. Ace is like, okay, I'm going to use the fact that I'm super practical to my advantage and say fuck human life, which is different than how Dio is. Because Dio gives you 3 of the 4 bomb passwords, among other things. Like, why 3 of the 4? Why not the 4th one as well? That's what I find silly. If he's gonna give you the bombs, he might as well give you all the bombs. Or you could get like 1 bomb from each person. By getting all of them from Dio, it just makes him such an anticlimactic villain. And on top of that, to add to that, he's supposed to be the leader of the Myrmidons. He's not just any Myrmidon, he's the leader. So it kind of makes me think, okay, if Left actually shows up in Zero Time Dilemma, how are they going to make him, like, bigger and better than Dio? I think they have to. But at the same time, wasn't Dio supposed to be the leader? And again, that makes me look down on all the other Myrmidons. Like, he was kind of shitty as a villain, so how can they be much better? As opposed to Ace, who, Ace was a great villain, but then we find out it's like the opposite. He's a great villain, and then we found out in this game that he was apparently working for Free the Soul, which makes him something of a stepping stone villain, and it's like, wow, he's that bad, and he was just a pawn of some bigger guy. I wonder how bad that guy's gonna be. And Dio is the complete opposite. It's like, he's pretty shitty as a villain, but he's the leader of the Myrmidons, so it's kind of funny. Like, the more I think about comparisons between Ace and Dio, the more I'm like, Ace is better in, like, all of the ways. But okay, that's enough ranting on Dio. Dio is my least favorite thing about this game, because, again, one of the things that makes the first game, the first 99, so good is all the mystery surrounding who's the guy killing everybody. And it turns out to be Ace, and there's a really good reveal. Well, there's a really good build-up to reveal. The reveal is kind of shot a little bit early, but it's, for the most part, much better than the reveals of Dio. So, in this game, when they have, you know, again, reveals and different pathways, they're all anticlimactic. It's like the meat of the game is shot, because a lot of this game is just build up for the next one. And I'm not going to say this game is bad for doing that. I would have preferred more self-contained in this, though. Because the thing is, and I can't say this about many games, as I said, a lot of it is build up. But at the same time, even though a lot of it is build up, where am I going with this? It still doesn't add much to the overarching story, because usually you do one or the other. Usually if you're like a filler game, which is what this is, like a filler game between one and the other, either A, it's gonna add a lot more to the overarching story so that, you know, you have a lot more going into the next one, maybe, or, if it's a filler game, it would have more self-contained stuff. And the thing is, it kind of doesn't do either. It has a bunch of build-up, but then still doesn't add much. Like, all we know is Sigma, you know, he's going to be old, and Phi's going to go in the next one, Junpei and Connor are probably going to be in it, and of course, Kei's consciousness, and the question mark character, who's probably going to end up being the main character in the next game, I'm guessing. Wow, that's already 6 people. I don't know if they're all going to be participants, but, and don't tell me. I know trailers are out. I know all 9 participants have been revealed. I don't want to know. I want to go into Zero Time Dilemma knowing as little as possible. That out of the way, yeah. That's an issue with this game, is how little self-contained stuff there is. And I know I harp on this a lot, but the fact that the game loops, in the sense, you know, when I say loops, I mean, I don't even know why I use the word loops. What I mean is, someone saw everything coming, and that's why it had to be the way it is. Again, I didn't like it in the first game, and I don't like it even more in this one. However, it's especially grating, I think, in this one, because in the first one, by the end, I thought there was a few plot holes that I brought up, but that was it. In this game, I don't want to call them plot holes, but there's stuff I wonder about, like, how do the chromatic doors work? And, like, I'll see certain characters make certain choices in certain pathways and be like, why do they do these things? And the game doesn't give much of an answer beyond they were meant to. And that's where it starts to bug me, especially with the doors. I spent so long thinking about how the doors could work, because that fascinated me, where someone would put their hand on the scanner, it would scan their bracelet or their hand or something, and using who they were, they would open a specific door. If it was just going to be, no, one door happens to be open, depending on whatever, why have the scanner? Just have them walk up, and then one of the doors randomly opens. Because that seems to be what it is. Now, getting back to the positive stuff that I wanted to talk about, I talked about Dio, I talked about Sigma. Phi, you know, is an enigma. I like her. She gets a bit too tsundere for me at times. Um, I don't really know what role she's going to play in the next game. They mentioned in the Another Time ending of this that she's like, I don't exactly understand it, but I think she's basically saying she doesn't time jump quite the same way Sigma does. Like, she thought she was going along the same path Sigma was, but apparently there's something that makes her different. I think that's what she was saying. Obviously, we don't know what that is, but she was definitely alluding to something like that. So I'm very interested what's going to be up with her. But that, I guess, is talk for Zero Time Dilemma speculations. So moving on to other characters in this game, let's get back to Clover. Yeah, most of what I said about Clover in the last one's also pretty true. We don't really relate to her as much. She also feels kind of dumber. In the sense that, A, she's terrible as an undercover agent. She reveals that fact way too often. But also, I just feel like they made her more ditzy. In 999, she was... I really liked her because, they gave her a good, good sob story. And at the same time, I liked her when she was cheery as well. And I just liked connecting with her. And and in that moment where it's like, Snake's alive, and you embrace, and you're like, yeah! It was such a yeah moment. And it was also awesome seeing Clover go axe crazy. That was like my favorite non-canon ending. Because it showed another side of Clover and, gave more depth to the character. Makes her a bit on the crazy side. But I feel like this game didn't play much up with any of her sides, really. Because they tried to combine the sob story with the anger when they got to Alice dying, who kept dying over and over. But I feel like they played it off all wrong. I don't know if the actor was at fault at all. I don't want to jump to any conclusions. I haven't heard the Japanese version. I don't know about the voice direction at all. But, and maybe it was just the writing. Whatever the case, though, it felt off when Clover was getting mad about Alice. It felt more, shut up, you're being annoying, than, oh, I feel so bad for you. Which is how I felt in the first game. I'm so sorry, Clover, in the first game. To be fair, I thought Alice was a pretty big bitch for a lot of this game, so that was probably part of it. Was the fact that when Alice died and Clover got pissy about it, I'm like, who gives a shit? It's Alice. As opposed to Snake, who I thought was cool. That said, I still feel, even with that in mind, her portrayal in this one when she gets... Again, she feels more angry. Whereas in the first game, it wasn't like that. And also, she like, makes some snap comments about how, I'll kill everyone! And, she was threatening Luna, like, I'll kill you! And I don't know if that's trying to carry over from the Axe Crazy side, but I feel like they're doing it half-assed. To the point where if you're doing it half-assed, it doesn't work. Like, if Clover was gonna go crazy, she needs to go full-on crazy. Because that worked really well in 999. In this game, though, she never does that. She kind of gets some sporadic moments of, I'm gonna be an angry bitch, but then doesn't go all the way. And when she doesn't go all the way, it's like the game still wants you to feel sympathetic for her. Whereas again, in the Axe Crazy ending, you weren't supposed to feel sympathy for her. You're supposed to be like, oh my god, she's crazy! Whereas in this, it's like, if she doesn't go all the way, the game kind of wants you to feel sympathy for her. And yet she's being such a bitch, so I don't want to feel sympathy for her. So you see what I'm saying? It's like, in 999, it felt at first like she got really sad about Light's death. And it was only later that she sometimes went full-on crazy. She never went super bitch mode. Whereas in this game, it's like they were combining the sadness with the bitch mode. And they had heavy levels of bitch mode. Maybe it's because Alice was rubbing off on Clover, because Alice is a pretty big bitch. But, yeah, so... I actually have heard similar complaints. I know a lot of my opinions aren't shared throughout the Zero Escape community. But Clover seems to be a common one. Clover is a fan favorite from 999. The favorite character throughout both games currently is Clover. Second favorite is Light, which isn't the same with me. I'd say first favorite for me. After re-watching this game, it might be Quark. Quark and Clover are my two favorites. After that, it's probably Light and then Tenmyoji, I guess. If I had to make a list. But anyways. Yeah, I'm not alone in really liking Clover in the first game. However, I'm also not alone in thinking she's kind of worse off in this one. A lot of people thought she was, what's the term I'm looking for? The scrappy in this game? Even though she was the fan favorite in the first one, and that's why she came back in the first place. So yeah, they definitely done goofed. I don't want to say she's a scrappy in this game, But I will say she's not as, enjoyable. Now, what else? Let's talk about other characters. Alice, we were just transitioning, might as well. So yeah, Alice, I feel I mostly went over what I wanted to go over with her in the last one. She's inconsistent is my biggest issue with Alice. My first early exposure to her was how much of a bitch she was. And then, like, in every other pathway, she was just kind of there. She was like, oh yeah, I'm the cool girl who likes to, be hot and stuff. Bitchy, but not a bitch. Whereas in her pathway, she was a straight-up bitch until the end. And then you got her sob story. So let's talk about that for a second, why don't we? I just forgot about something I want to talk about with Dio. I'm going to get back to that right now, and then I'll get back to Alice. Dio brought up that thing about trouble with women. That's one way they could have made him kind of sympathetic. But they didn't. I just remembered something else that I was going to bring up. You know how I said Ace, they made him relatable with the whole faces thing? Dio, they didn't, because, you can't really relate to Dio as his motivations, because you can relate to Ace's motivations, but with Dio, what he wanted was, he's part of a terrorist organization, so that's why he's doing this, but also, he's close with everybody, so that's why he thinks it's okay, and that's it. That's his whole motivation. Who the hell can relate to that? Like, twins and triplets pretty much could probably... Let me know in the comments, are you a twin or a triplet? Can you relate a bit to Dio's whole mentality of everybody in the world should look the same? Even then, I don't think you would want to relate to that. But, so you can't really relate to Dio's motivations either. So I was going to bring that up. I had that in my mind before I started recording this. And then, of course, as soon as I recorded, I forgot to mention it. But there you go, yeah. So there's another reason Dio's not a great character. Because you can't really get behind him. Even, at least Ace, as great as he is as a villain, he's also... You can understand where he's coming from, which is an important part of well-written villains. And Dio's just not. Like, he's just a terrorist dude, and that's all he is. Which I'm fine with generic douchebag. Generic evil villains just for the sake of evil, depending on the source material. Like, big, long-running shonen series, they're going to have some of them. Not every villain can have substance in shows or games like that with lots of villains. But in something like this, where, no, they've got the one villain, you want to give them substance, and they really didn't. Okay, back to Alice. So Alice is, in my first pathway, she was kind of a bitch. And, they gave the sob story towards the end, but her story, to me, feels incomplete. I don't know if she's going to be in Zero Time Dilemma. They kind of alluded to that she and Clover might be coming back in Zero Time Dilemma towards the end, in another time. They kind of... I think that... I don't know. I don't know quite what that was about, but the way they talked about Schrodinger's cat, I think they're saying in the past they'll get woken up, I'm assuming. I would hope so, because again, Clover's still one of my favorites. Alice, not so much, but I would like to know more about her. And I feel like there's more to the whole Alice thing with the Ice 9 thing, which is why I think they might go more into her, because I don't think that's just some random thing. I don't know if she's the Ice 9 woman, but I feel like they're going to somehow... I feel ZTT is going to get super trippy, and I'm all for it. Going into this game, I didn't know how trippy it was going to be, but now that I've gotten to the end, I know how trippy they're willing to go with this series. So I'm ready for the trips. I am ready for the trips to hit me in the face. But, road trips! But, Alice, yes. Yes, so, yeah, that's pretty much it. She was kind of a bitch in the other pathways. You didn't get to know her at all. And then in this pathway you did get to know her, she was a super bitch until the end where she kind of became sympathetic. But I still don't feel like you got to know her fully. I feel like, comparing characters, I mentioned in my initial final thoughts how Lotus was... how Alice was like, just, this game's Lotus. And I still feel in a lot of ways that's true. Because a lot of their personality quirks are kind of similar. But I feel Lotus is a more interesting character. I do think the cast in general of 999 is more interesting than this game's cast. I still think that. But, comparing Lotus to Alice for a second, I already compared Dio to Ace, but, now I don't think it's on that level. Like, Ace dwarfs Dio by a lot. Lotus isn't terribly better than Alice. She's better than Alice. One of the good things about Lotus is that she comes off originally as, kind of a cold-hearted woman, but then towards the end, you see that she's doing it because she just, she wants to live. She's trying to be practical, and she does show signs that, she's trying to be a good team mom, kind of, at times. A cruel team mom. A mom that's willing to let one of their, children die just so she can survive, but hey. So, maybe not quite the team mom. I guess I should say the chick in the 5-man band. The person who kind of brings them together. Ace is more of that, because Ace is the selfless one, pre-reveal. But Lotus kind of fills also, a group bonding role at times. And then again, she has that sympathetic part in the timeline the better timeline where everybody dies. I will say that. This game had the Clover ending where everybody died, and it kind of sucked. But in fact, I'm going to go over all the endings in a bit, but the ending where everybody died in the first game was much better. I'll get back to that. But in that ending is where you really get Lotus opening up to you, and I really like it a lot. I feel like even though you didn't get as much of a story from Lotus, kind of because of that is why you were able to get more closer to her. Because I feel like if you tell too much sometimes, it can get a bit grating. And Alice, I feel, she gave us a big spiel on something of a minor point. If she went more in depth, I feel, then maybe, but I guess you could say I'm saying the opposite now. It's more like I feel like she went in depth on a minor thing, and I wanted a major thing instead. I feel like your character's incomplete. That's what I'm saying. I spent too long on Alice. Let's move on. Okay, so that's Clover, that's Alice, that's Dio, that's Sigma, that's Phi. What do we got? What else? Who else is here? Well, I've went through everybody on this side and this side. Quark is awesome. I went over him in my initial thoughts. He's just awesome. He's really, I really love the, not the Quark ending, actually the Temioji ending. Should be the Quark ending with how much you get more on Quark than you do on Temioji in that ending. Yeah, Quark is great. He's favorite character in the game. He's got a really cool story with Temioji towards that ending. And what else? His hat keeps snacks. That's cool. I just also the voice actor helps. I enjoy her work a lot now that I've heard her some more. That probably helped. But I just think he's a cool kid. And he has the traits of a kid, the silliness, but he also shows that he's not a complete idiot. Not much else to say about him. He doesn't have much of a purpose in the plot, so I'm hoping he gets a bigger purpose in Zero Time Dilemma. But still, even if he's done in this game, I still really liked him in this game. I guess at this point we're going right to left, so might as well, yeah, because I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I might as well finish off this right side. Temioji, who is also Junpei. Junpei was fine in the last game. He wasn't. I mean, again, you couldn't get too much into him because he was like the player character. In this game, you kind of get more of a look at him, and he's a really cool old guy. At times, he feels like a bit of a dick, but he's a really yeah, he's a cool old guy. I like him. I do feel, and I said this in the initial thoughts, he is kind of, in a lot of ways, I feel his character is there just to be a walking spoiler. Like, he was put in the game just to reveal that he's Junpei, and he doesn't really add much to the plot. Like, he could not be Junpei, and it wouldn't change much, really. The only thing it would change is there wouldn't be the reveal towards the end about, there wouldn't be the reveal about, oh, I'm Junpei. There wouldn't be his relationship going out with Clover, like, not going out with Clover, but, throughout the game, there seems to be something going on with him and Clover. And that's really it. And, of course, he helps Sigma, because he also gives him his thoughts and whatever, with the morphogenic fields. But, that said, I feel like I like Tenmyoji as a character. I can say that. But I can't say I like Junpei in this game as a character, because his character does feel so radically different. Then again, it's been a long time. He's a very different person now. But I still feel if they were going to make him Junpei, there should have been more of a purpose to him being Junpei. So there is that. And I did really want more of that story. Like, what happened between all that time, between wanting to find Akane. Because we didn't get much of it. It kind of just boiled down to eventually he stopped looking and he found Quark, and that's all there was to it. And I really did want to see a Junpei explanation story, kind of. Kind of like what we got with like an Alice prelude story, or what else did we get for prelude stories? We kind of got a Quark prelude story, but again, that was from Quark's point of view. We didn't get it like a Tenmyoji point of view one. We got a K prelude story. Let's talk about K. Now that I know K is likely going to be in Zero Time Dilemma, it kind of changes my perspective a bit. I can afford to be a bit more open-ended. But I liked K. I did feel he was a bit lacking in fleshed outness. Again, it seems like he's going to be in Zero Time Dilemma, so I guess that's okay. What else? At first, I thought, again, in my initial thoughts, I thought his whole purpose was just kind of to be there as a plot twist that wasn't... it was just kind of a thing, because you didn't understand the purpose behind it. It's when you understand the purpose that the twist really hits you, usually. Because, when you see behind K's mask and you're like, it's Sigma, there will be the initial shock value, but then there will be the thing of figuring out, why is it like that? And there wasn't much of one. It was just kind of, yeah, he's your clone, kind of. And again, they're doing something with him in the next game, so that's fine. I am very intrigued to where he's going to go, because for a bit, I thought they might make K the main character of the next game, because it feels like, because that's where they were kind of going with the ending, but it seems like that's not quite it, based on Another Time, because of how it ends. It's probably somebody else, but K's going to be there anyways, but K's going to be in somebody else's body, but is K going to get... Is he going to reveal to us that I'll get to that later. As far as comparing Amnesiacs, 7 versus K, similar to 7, I feel like we didn't get to know... we got to know 7 as a character, but we didn't really get to know, his personal life or what he was doing. And similar with K, we got to know him, and we heard a bit of a story of how he grew up, but we still didn't get terribly much of what his in the now personality is. We kind of got it, but I kind of would have liked to see a bit more of how he relates to all the characters. Because again, in Another Time, it's not even K relating to them. It's somebody else, whoever it is. So there's K. I'm excited to see where they're going to go with him. And I did enjoy him in this game. I just felt, in my initial thoughts, I kind of complained about him because I felt like there's no way he can be in Zero Time Dilemma before except if there was time travel bullshit. I mentioned that as well. And there kind of is time travel bullshit, so, yeah. Luna. Luna is a nice robot. That's pretty much all I said in my initial thoughts. There's not much else to say. There's really not much else to say. I feel like she's one of the lesser interesting characters in the game. That hasn't changed. Better written than Dio as far as characters being written go. It's just, again, she's not very interesting to me because I've seen characters like her over and over, and I don't feel like she added much new to the equation. I've seen the whole plot of I Wish I Was a Real Boy over and over. I've seen the plot of I Wish I Was a Real Boy from a character with a similar personality before, so there's also that. I don't feel like she added much. However, one thing I learned about, and this could potentially be considered a Zero Time Dilemma spoiler, I guess, because it's something that was brought up in a Q&A. I don't know, if you want to avoid knowing anything at all about ZTD going into it, skip what I'm about to say. I have now learned that apparently Luna was based off, what's her name, Diana? I don't remember exactly her name, but apparently Sigma created her based off of Diana, I think was her name. And she was somebody Sigma met in Zero Time Dilemma, and when Sigma mentioned to K that there was a woman that was special in his life, it's implied that he was talking about Diana, and it's also because what is it? In that recording that we heard, I even remember mentioning this. Luna is voiced by Laura Bailey, and the woman we heard in that recording was also voiced by Laura Bailey. And I remember thinking how strange that is. And apparently, that is probably going to be Diana, I'm guessing, because it's still Laura Bailey. So, different inflection, so I'm excited to see what Diana's going to be like. Can't be that similar of a character, honestly. I'm guessing it's just the design that was based off Diana. But the character's probably going to be fairly different, which I'm hoping for. But I'll be interested to see where they go with that. But yeah, apparently Sigma created Luna based off Diana. That does bring up the question of how did he know anything at all about Diana? Because Sigma created Luna, if we go by the flowchart, I don't want to bring it up. You guys know the flowchart I'm talking, not this flowchart, the timeline jumping chart. He goes back to just after Zero Time Dilemma, and then spends 45 years doing all the bullshit, and then goes back into Zero Time Dilemma. So, I guess it has to be subconscious? Because apparently he's supposed to create Luna based off Diana. But he shouldn't even know who Diana is. So maybe it's subconscious, I'm not sure. Or maybe he, had a picture of Diana on his person. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but apparently that's what it is. So, that's kind of interesting to me. So I'm curious where they're gonna go with that. So that's everybody. Oh yeah, and Akane, who, I don't know. We didn't get much of her in this game. She's just kind of a cranky old lady in this one. It feels like she's kind of devoid of emotion, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I feel like that represents her well. Because in the first game, we got a really plucky look at her character, but we didn't get much of a look at what she's like when the veil is lifted. Because Junpei didn't realize the whole time that, she was secretly Zero the whole time. And in this game, we kind of get more of a look at that, in the sense that she's a bit colder, even in when Sigma gets kidnapped initially, which is only a year later. But now, all this time later, Junpei's still kind of a fun-loving guy. He's kind of cold at this point. He's colder than he was, but Akane is almost devoid of emotion. It's at this point, her whole purpose is, I must save future. Nothing about life I have matters. I must say, it's almost she's forgotten what the point of saving it was. That's what it feels like to me, and that's good. That's not a complaint. I feel like they did a good job of portraying her robotically. Funnily enough, she's more robotic than Luna, as far as emotions go. And again, that's a good thing, because it represents the fact that she's been mentally time jumping so much, and she's lived out her life so long that, and so much of it has just been, again, to save the future. And of course, Sigma's going to be similar in this aspect when we get to Zero Time Dilemma, because he spent a bunch of his life on this as well. But I feel like Sigma's more driven, at least based off his initial "I have to save the future" thing. I feel like he's a bit more driven. I could be wrong. We'll see how he is in Zero Time Dilemma. But Akane feels more like she was driven at some point, but she lost sight of the drive, and she's just kind of doing it just because it's her thing to do now. That's what it feels like to me. She forgot, it's like she forgot her real purpose. She's doing it because she started doing it, and she doesn't know how to do anything else. That's what it feels like, and that's a good thing. That is not a complaint. I can see how some people might take that as a complaint. That's a compliment. That's kind of funny. Some people might take it as a complaint when it's a compliment. It has to do with difference in opinion, I guess. Some people might think saying that she's just devoid of emotion can't be taken any other way, but I think it can. I think it's a clever writing technique. Anyways, so let's talk about the stuff that isn't the characters. The flowchart, yeah, I've already said how much I don't like the flowchart. My thoughts haven't really changed. I do know that they what they did add was they added this section, they added aside from this bonus stuff, they also added this last thing, after Phi's, Tenmyojis, and Lunas, they added that. That was added. So that in that sense, it leaves you hanging. You don't know for sure which light door you're going to go through. But at the same time, I still don't like how you get the whole tree. So I just had to say, though, that you do 10 Miyojis, Phi's, and Lunas do get added. So they don't give you the whole thing right away. They don't show you who is going to go on forever. But even still, I wish they didn't show you, well, any of it. So I'm guessing Zero Time Dilemma is going to have something similar to a flowchart, because it's probably going to have multiple endings again. And I'm guessing the number won't go down by much. It'll probably be more than 999. I don't know if it'll be as many as this game, but it'll probably almost definitely be more than 999's number of endings. And if they do, a flowchart would definitely be nice. However, I will say this. Even though a flowchart would be nice, again, I really do hope they fill it in as they go. Because in 999, I prefer the way it is there to how it is here. Because even though you have the convenient jumps, 999 is a fairly short game, and to be frank, so is this one. You can get through a lot of this really quickly if you skip through everything, which is fairly easy to do. which is why in 999 I could do that. And in 999 there was no flowchart, so I just kind of had to figure out on my own how I go through different paths. In this game, you really don't have much of a choice, because as soon as you finish a pathway, it flashes this screen in your face. You can't avoid looking at it. And it shows you where you ended, all the question marks that remain, all the plot locks, it tells you how you should probably unlock the plot lock. I like the mystery in 999 of figuring it out on myself. Because I ended up going through a couple different pathways in 999 before I actually got the true one. I got all the endings, then I did a couple... Well, before I got all the endings, I got a couple extra endings, so I was trying to find all the endings. But I'm fine with that. To be fair, this is a bigger game, and it's a lot easier to do the wrong thing, I guess. But, I don't know. I still like the feeling of figuring things out and not knowing when you're going to get to a divergence in the pathway and hoping you get to a change and wondering what's going to be different and how it'll differ. And in this game, they're pretty much just like, yeah, take that element away entirely. So that is a complaint I have. Yeah, what else is there to talk about? I'll talk about the endings in a bit. Let's talk about some other stuff that isn't the endings. Oh, Logomorph. He was amazing. I think I mentioned that, but yeah. Not much to say about him. He's really quirky. I think he kind of shows Sigma and maybe to an extent Akane's quirkiness. And actually, something I didn't realize, I was looking it up on... because it's been so long since I recorded this, I looked it up on TV Tropes, and I saw somebody mentioning how in 999, Akane and Junpei felt really bad about the fact they let all those rabbits die. I wouldn't be surprised if some people maybe forgot about that, because it's kind of a minor plot point, and it's in the timeline where everyone dies, so it's not even required. But, yeah, the rabbits, Lagomorph's a rabbit! So that's probably what he was based on, is Akane felt bad for the rabbits, so she wanted to make him a rabbit. So I kind of like that theory. I support it. That's a game theory I support. What else? What do I want to talk about? I know I want to talk about the endings. The puzzles. I mentioned in my initial 999 video that I don't like the puzzles. Well, no, I didn't say that. What I said was, I like the 999 puzzles more than I like the Zero Time to Level puzzles? I hope not. I hope I like Zero Time to Level puzzles more. Versus S Reward puzzles. And I don't know if I stand by that completely. I will say this, 999 doesn't have any glaring weak spots as far as puzzles go. I still stand by that. That being said, and this game does. Like, the archive puzzle, the gold file in the archive, like, that is the biggest glaring spot. I could probably think of a couple others. I'm not thinking of any off the top of my head, but, like, that's all I need to say this game has some clear weak spots. But I think, ignoring that, I really do like a lot of the puzzles in this game. I like how a lot of them are set up, and on a second look through, I kind of like the gold file idea. I would have liked it more if the gold files were, you had to go down, like, a separate route, and that's kind of what I thought they were going to be. Like, there was, like, 2 different ways to go through the room and do puzzles and get to 2 different solutions, as opposed to you get to the end, and the final solution, the final screen, and you're like, there's 2 ways. That felt a bit lazy to me, but I did like how some of the 2 ways were handled. Like, I liked figuring out the alt ways sometimes. That was sometimes fun. So the gold files weren't terrible, but I feel like they definitely could have been done better, but they were alright. And I do like the puzzles. However, I'll say this, the puzzle rooms in this game, even if the puzzles are better than 999, which whether or not they are, is debatable, they feel more like filler than I feel they should. In 999, the puzzle rooms felt significant because you had plot going on in those rooms. You had character development sections going on in those rooms. It also made who you went into with each door more important. Like in, I'm going to get to something in a second, a bit of a complaint I have about how the doors are set up and who goes in where. But in 999, you get a lot of the character development sections based on what door you go with, and like who you go with and what doors. So like, let's say you never go with a certain character through a certain pathway, like you never go into any of the doors with them, you're not going to end up learning much about them in that pathway, because you get a lot of the character development, again, when you're in the doors. It also fleshes out the escape sections, makes them longer, and in 999, like, you would sometimes have 2 escape sections in a row before meeting back up with everybody. Because of that, it had this more feeling of wondering what was going to happen, and would you meet up again, and there was this bigger feeling of relief when you did meet up again. Whereas in this game, as you saw, every single time I got to an escape section, I just covered it in one video. And by the end of it, we're back meeting up with the other guys, the gang, and we're together again. And that hurts a bit of the feeling of that, along with the fact that there aren't plot sections in the middle of the escape rooms. It hurts the feeling of immersion. I feel like feeling what they're feeling and the fact that they're trapped and they're really struggling. Whereas in this game, it feels more like chilled out, honestly. It has that feeling, I felt, as I was editing through this game again. It definitely has a more chilled out feeling than 999. Because again, 999, you're separated for so much longer. Because there's so much more plot. Because there's 2 escape sections at once sometimes. Whereas in this game, there's only 1 escape section at a time ever, and there's no plots in them, so you go through them fairly quickly, and then you meet up again right away. So the escape sections feel a lot like filler. So this game, I feel, more than 999, really could have been a visual novel. Because 999, they have a visual of that now. It's like a straight-up visual novel. This game would work a lot better, I feel, because like the escape sections are super filler. They could just cut them out entirely, practically. And again, I wish they didn't feel like filler. I wish they felt like more part of the game. Because in 999, granted in 999 my videos were shorter in general, but I was making some escape sections would be a few videos long, especially the ones that took 2 escape sections to get through. Like, they'd be like 5, 6 videos before I got back together with the other guys. So there was this real feeling of, when's it going to happen? Like, how long are we going to be on our own, isolated? And this game doesn't have as much of the feeling. It does have the AB game, though. I do want to talk about the AB game. I like the concept of the AB game a lot. In execution, I feel like they did an average job. I don't want to be too negative on this, because I really like the idea of the AB game, and I feel like when they do it right, they do it really right. But there are some times where I feel like they don't do it quite as right, and specifically I'm talking about the early times. Because I like how later on, when you get to the later sections, it's the only time where somebody changes their vote between timelines is 5. And when they do it then, they make a point of, oh yeah, it's different, it's weird. Everybody else, they have a specific vote, and you're basically voting against them and trying to figure out what they're going to vote and vote against them. Now, Luna was like that in the initial one, but Alice and Tenmyoji weren't, and I feel that was not in their best interests. I understand the shock factor of when you first do it, and the game is like, oh, you can't win. But looking back on it, it just feels like it spits in the purpose of the AB game all along. Like, because the purpose of the AB game is trying to figure out what your opponent's going to do, and outplay them, or side with them, if they decide to side with you. But if you can't possibly win, which you can't in those first 2 games, there's no winning outcome. The only winning outcome is either you both ally or you both betray. And that does not happen in the first initial round with Tenmyoji and Alice. I feel those definitely had issues. I was okay with it with Alice, but then when they did it with Tenmyoji as well, it was kind of like, really, with you as well? I understand why they did it. I mean, kind of, but it just felt jarring, and I feel like they could have shown the idea of alternate timelines giving you alternate results a little better, and also the personalities could have been less jarring. Like, I'm okay with the idea that, in the different timelines, they just happen to pick different choices. For a long time, I wasn't okay with that, honestly. I've kind of grown used to accepting the fact that sometimes in this Zero Escape universe, shit just happens, which I'm not a huge fan of. In my time travel stories, I like it when everything has a purpose. Like, if there's something different, you know why it's different. There's a way to figure out why it's different. Whereas in this game, it's kind of just, things are sometimes different just because they are. And then that runs off the theory of there are infinite number of multiple universes, and that's fine, but usually in time travel stories, we're focusing on one, and it's shifting, and we're shifting focus point depending on what happens. Whereas in this one, it's like, no, we're seeing multiple focus points kind of come into one, and the game kind of just picks and chooses which you see, which is why it feels at times a bit like the whole thing is meaningless. And that is a complaint I do have. Like, when you get certain choices that feel like everybody else will just make random choices and there's not much rhyme or reason as to why. Like, at least from a time travel standpoint, like what changed, what was the butterfly effect. If they don't give much of a reason, it just feels like it's a jumble of separate world lines being put into one, and there's a bunch more you don't get to see. You're only getting to see these specific ones that play canonically into this game. Like, there's probably plenty of plot lines in this game that we don't get to see at all, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty in Zero Time Dilemma we don't get to see based on how this game's plot works with time travel, and I'm not a huge fan of that aspect, but I've grown used to the fact that it is a thing that's going to be in these games, and I've accepted it. And I've accepted the idea that Alice and Temioji might make different choices. It's just they feel like their personalities kind of shift depending on which you choose. Alice especially, because she goes hardcore bitch in the one pathway where you end up where she betrays you. That's the funny thing. When you betray her, she's not as much of a bitch as when she betrays you. Like, you think she'd be more of a bitch when you betray her, but no, she's more of a bitch when she betrays you. And it just gets you asking the question of why. And I think, okay, assuming that we are seeing alternate timelines, I can kind of understand, to a degree, why. Because she's just something of a really, well, to be honest, self-important, self-indulgent character. She's kind of super selfish. In fact, I will say this. Alice felt like a meh character to me. I've already said that, but she felt at times like she was meh at times, and then she was blech at other times, because it felt like she was supposed to be the leader. She was supposed to be the leader of this secret undercover organization, and even though she's better at keeping it a secret than Clover, she's not much better. Like, you could do a lot better job at not revealing the facts to us, you ladies. But them dumb bitches, right? And I don't want to be sexist, but it feels like because they're both the undercover ones, at times it feels like, oh, they're just the dumb ladies, and I don't want to think that way, but I feel like the game's making me think that way. Stop it, game. The game is sexist. But, yeah, Alice, at times it feels like she has lapses in judgment, and she lets the emotions get the better of her way too often. Like, Clover talks about how she looks up to Alice, and I just find myself wondering why. Because I know Alice says she puts on a front, but even the front she puts on is kind of a bitchy front. Because even outside of the time where, you know, she betrays me and goes full-on bitch mode, in general, she's kind of, honestly, she acts similar to Dio. Like, to a lesser extent, she acts, like, overconfident about, like, stuff. Like, you know how Dio will act all overconfident and tell you the bomb passwords? Alice is kind of overconfident in the fact that, you know, she gets all in your face about how, again, all important she is, but also she reveals too much about her secret organization, and I don't know if it's a writing problem or a character problem, but anyways, the point I was trying to get at is, I feel like I really want to know why Clover looks up so much to Alice, and I don't feel like we got a good explanation, because what we get in this game of Alice is either her killing herself and looking really stupid, or looking like a bitch. Like, she looks like a bitch, she looks stupid, or she look like, I wanted to see a smart side of Alice. I wanted to see her really show her stuff, and she didn't. And that's another thing, in fact. I know Akane was going over everybody in the epilogue about how everybody had a purpose, and like, Alice's purpose was apparently she needed to be there because she had to help solve the bomb problem. But she didn't help solve the bomb problem. I went a little over this in my final video, but yes, she knew what the long string of numbers was about. But it wound up being pointless, because the code winds up saying mission successful or whatever it was, like, you succeeded. Basically, he was telling Dio that he succeeded. But that alone tells us nothing. In fact, it's me and Fi that do all the work in figuring out that Dio is the bad guy. Alice doesn't help at all. So I really wanted her to help more. That's something she really needed to do. I wanted her to have a bigger part in the plot. Yes, she killed herself a lot, and I'm fine with that being a thing. But I feel like the parts that she's not killing herself, she should have a bigger impact. In fact, in that sense, I can relate her Light from 999. Because Light's big shtick is that before you even get to the second door, he's dead for most of it. He comes back towards the end, but for a lot of it, he's dead. And that's similar to Alice. In a way, it's also similar to Quark, because Quark gets Radical Sixth a lot, but I feel like Quark gets a really good story towards the end, and I feel like he's kind of a minor character in this game, but I feel like of what we got of him, he was great. Even if his purpose wasn't amazing, I still really enjoyed him. So I hope they do give him a better purpose as well, but Alice is the one where it's like, I feel like they outlined a purpose that she should have had and then didn't give it to her, where Quark, they didn't really outline a purpose, he was just kind of there. But yeah, in this game, it's like they're saying Alice does have a purpose. It's like they're trying to tell me, yes, player, Alice has a purpose, and they're not showing me. They're telling me and not showing me, which is an issue. Um, so yeah, I wanted to see her be Smarticle. Yeah, Light in the first game, he was more Smarticle. When we were with him, the few times we were, you could definitely tell he's a smart guy. He's a smart cookie. Whereas in this game, I feel the few times you're with Alice, you don't get that from her. And another thing is, even though you're not with Light much in 999, you get to be with him at the end, and that's important. Because when you don't get to be with the character for a majority of the game, I feel it's important to at least give them that ending. I feel like Alice, they just didn't, because you didn't really get to see much of her at the end either. Honestly, it should have been her and Tenmyoji in the final door, if anything. I mean, you needed Tenmyoji for the Akane thing, probably, but you didn't really need Fi in the Q door, and Fi had plenty of doors already. To be fair, Alice had plenty of doors already, but Alice, it would have been nice to give her something to do. Although, to be fair, again, there's not many plot sections in the escape doors in this game, but that one did have a plot section. I don't know, I feel like they could have done more with Alice, that's what I'm saying. Moving on from that, I talked about the AB games. I really enjoy the concept of the AB games, you know, thinking about what is, like, which I should pick, which I should not pick. I feel these first couple kind of ruined that whole point, but they got better in the second round. The second rounds were a lot of fun. So yeah. I've talked about the AB game. I've talked about motivations, of endings. Should I get to endings? Is there anything I want to talk about before I get to endings? Sure, let's just get to endings. I do feel, in general, 999 had much stronger endings. Like, they only had a few of them, but they were all strong, except for Lotus's ending. I call it Lotus's ending. The ending where you find her dead and then Ace kills you and you don't see him, that was the weakest ending, but, I mean, that's the only weak ending in that game, because Clover killing you is awesome. Ace killing everybody and not finding out it's Ace is awesome. Ace going 0 at the end of the one where he burns to death is awesome. The true ending is awesome. I think that's all of the endings. I haven't seen the visual novel only ending, because the visual novel added an extra ending, and I haven't seen that one. Clover kills you again, by the way, in that one, from what I hear. She thinks that you killed Snake, so she kills you in that one. And that's the one where you leave everybody behind, because you leave her and Lotus behind, because you really want to go through one of those doors with Akane. Like, you go out of your way to do it. Like, you're either gonna leave behind Santa or Akane and Clover. No, not Akane, Lotus and Clover. And you end up leaving behind Lotus and Clover. So Clover kind of goes crazy when you get out of that door. She kills you. I haven't seen the ending. I've just heard that's what happens. Now, I can't talk much about that, but let's talk about this game's endings. I went right to left before. Let's do that again. Well, okay, I'll talk about the Fi ending last, but, in fact, okay, you know, if we're gonna do that, let's just go left to right. So, Luna's ending, it was there. It existed. It wasn't great. Okay, to be fair, I liked the story. I don't want to say it was a bad story. I felt some sympathy for Luna. It's just, it felt repetitive to me, really. I've talked about this before in this thoughts video, but I've seen characters like Luna done a lot, so I didn't feel much watching it play out. I kind of just wanted to see, I wanted to get to more of the plot at that point. I didn't care much about Luna's ending, and I still don't care much about it. I mean, I feel they could have done her character better, make her more interesting, but I don't hate her. I hate Dio as a character, but I don't hate Luna. I just feel she's not very interesting. And her ending was kind of focused around her. However, if we're going to talk about the ending leading up to the reveal that she's still alive and she gives you the spiel, that was kind of poorly done, I felt. Because they had this whole murder mystery thing going on of, oh, everybody's dead kind of thing. Who could it be? And the reveals that, oh, everybody killed themselves or it was Dio was a bit lame. I mean, I've talked about how the Dio reveals were lame, but I was kind of excited. I thought maybe Alice didn't kill herself in that pathway, because she had a different knife stuck in her chest. Turns out she did still kill herself, but a lot of great mystery writers have gone over how it's never suicide. Never make it suicide, because it's not as interesting. And I got kind of that vibe when I got to that point where they confirmed that, yes, Alice did kill herself in this specific pathway. I was like, oh, I thought maybe somebody else killed her, and you took away the suspense. Like, now it's just suicide. That's kind of lame. And I did kind of feel that way. So I feel as an ending, this one was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. Luna Game Over 2. That was kind of a serves you right ending. Although, a problem I have with this game versus the first game is that in 999, when the endings happen, they're endings. Like, at that point, you're either dead, you've escaped the building, or Santa gassed you. I'm assuming it's Santa, who gassed you in, the what was it? The safe ending of, the safe ending, there's a lot more safes in this game. The safe ending of 999. But yeah, other than the safe ending where you got gassed and the true ending, you died in all the endings, so they really were the end of your life, kind of. And they have a pink skull here, but it felt like they could have done more with this game over. I feel like arbitrarily calling certain pathways game overs kind of bugs me. I really wish they didn't give this naming trend. In fact, I don't even like the idea of, like, because I can refer, in the first game, I can call them the Clover ending, the Lotus ending, the Ace ending, and those are like fan nicknames, but they're not really what they are. And I wish that's what this game did as well. Instead of having obligatory, oh, this is the Luna end, and oh, this is the K end, and oh, this is the Game Over 2. Tenmyoji Game Over, but... Because I went into this in my initial thoughts as well, but going into Luna's ending, at that point, like, I wasn't sure if it was going to be Luna's pathway or Dio's pathway. And if it was going to be Dio's pathway, then it could turn out Dio was, like, they were going to learn more about him. But then I ended up getting plot blocked, so I had to do Dio's pathway instead, and then come back and do Luna's pathway. And when I did, I knew at that point it was going to be Luna's ending, and at that point she was supposed to be dead, so my theory that she was a robot was pretty much proven true before it was even proven true. Which, again, I was pretty sure she was a robot at that point. The game gave me no indication that she wouldn't be. You know, after that initial reveal... Well, okay, way over in Sigma's pathway, you know, she starts talking to you about time travel and robots, which actually isn't what she's talking about. I realized later on that she meant that robots are able to look at every other place in the facility using the monitors, but I didn't put two and two together when I was playing. I just thought she said, oh, you, like, because she said, you've never been here before. Are you a robot? Like, you're, okay. But as far as I knew, being here before means you're a time traveler. So I thought time travelers, like, robots time traveled somehow. And I came to that conclusion, I stuck with it the whole game. But that conclusion, while not completely true, it was right in the sense that if Luna knew about this, it meant she was a robot, and that was right. So, there's that. Yeah, so Luna's Game Over. I liked Luna's Game Over if they continued with it. And that's a problem I have with a lot of the Game Overs, as I've said. I wanted to see more from it, and they kind of just said, no, that's enough, you don't need anymore. And I wish there was more. So there's that. Okay, Luna's Game Over 1. That was her escaping with Quark. No, that was Tenmyoji escaping with Quark. Because you decided to be a dick, and then Luna said, wanted to be a bigger dick, so she let Tenmyoji get out with Quark, pretty much. I mean, yeah, Tenmyoji killed himself. And props to Tenmyoji for taking the, sacrifice there. But also, what a douchebag. You could have waited for us, but we were a douchebag in that pathway, so it's fair enough. K's ending. Okay, let's rank the endings. Why not? Okay, so first Luna's ending. Let's start that as the middle ground. That feels like an appropriate middle ground. K's ending, I'd say I like it a bit more. Because the ending kind of entailed learning about K, and I enjoyed his background, and I enjoyed, even though the reveal of Dio was kind of lame, the reveal of K wasn't. That's something I'll say. Figuring out that K killed Dio was cool. That was well set up. I really enjoyed that. So, yeah, that's a good reveal. K, you know who has the only good villain reveal in this game? Someone who's not even a villain. Figuring out that K killed Dio in that pathway, that was really cool. I enjoyed that. That was clever, unlike with Dio. I wish they had more of that. So, yeah, I like K's ending a lot. And you did die in that ending, so it felt like an end. And they did have that, zinger at the end of, he has my face, and that was kind of a cool, like, what the fuck moment. And that's kind of where you start to put the pieces together where, you're probably Zero. But, yeah. So I like K's ending. I like it more than Luna's, for sure. Okay, moving on. What was K's game? Oh, yeah, that's right, because you had to betray K, so he didn't betray you back. Funny. It turns out all along that he is your son. K Game Over was him just escaping because he's a pragmatist. That's K's... Actually, I didn't talk too much about K's character. In fact, I haven't talked too much about many of their characters, but I guess this is when I'm doing it, because I'm talking about their endings now. Um, Kay's character, he's a pragmatist. He likes to be super practical. He's not heartless. He won't kill somebody to get what he wants, but he will be sneaky, and he will, maybe not be the most on the level, if, which honestly seems kind of like what I would do. He's not a bad guy, by any means, but he will do some shady shit if he thinks it's for the right reasons. And he will also put his own safety above others at times, similar to Lotus. She was also a pragmatist in a lot of ways, so, yeah. I'm fine with that. Moving on, Dio. I liked Dio's game over more than his ending. To be fair, he's Dio, so that's kind of the point, I feel. Because when you sided with Clover, there was this feeling of nicety, familiarity, like, yay, I'm glad, Clover, you stayed with me, I liked it. And then Tenmyoji went to lurk with Quark, and again, this is another one where I would have wanted to see more of that. Like, where would they have went after this? Because Sigma was still alive. I would have liked to try still looking for Quark, try to band together, because this ending, I've said this before, it felt like 999's coffin ending, except in that ending ended up being the true ending when you continued. Because it felt similar, because, again, you had Clover there, just like in 999. You had Kay, who was the amnesiac. You had a Junpei. You had Tenmyoji. Although, Kay in a lot of ways is also kind of like Kay. Did I say Kay is like Kay? I'm slurring my words. I've been recording for a while. Kay is kind of like Light, and Tenmyoji is like the Seven in some ways. And I'll get to that in a second. But, so it felt like you had that posse. You had the cool posse, and you had to try and, maybe get out. And then you didn't, and it just ended. Speaking of things that just ended, Dio's ending. Dio's ending was lame because of the reveal, but I've been over that. It was kind of cool in the sense that he's the douchebag, and to get out using his ending, you have to be a douchebag. Like, you have to own your douchebaggery. I did enjoy that. But I did kind of think... I think it's really dumb how we learned about the Zero Bomb's location, because it asks you a question of, like, how do they even know about the Zero Bomb's existence? Because the only reason they learned that a Zero Bomb even exists is because of this ending. If they didn't, they wouldn't even know about it over here. Because... Okay, that's something else I guess I'm going to get to, is the bombs, but I'll get to that in a second, because that's more true ending stuff. I do feel, though, it was kind of dumb how Five showed up in this pathway and was like, I'm going to learn the Zero Bomb password. Not only did it lead to an anticlimactic reveal, but it was also dumb because it brings up, time paradox questions, she knew that bomb was there because of this pathway, but that pathway exists because of that pathway, but that pathway exists because of this pathway, so it's like, what? Granted, you could say there's other pathways we're not seeing that fill in the missing gaps, but we're not seeing them, so they don't count. It's just, as far as the pathways we've seen, it's a time paradox. Granted, this whole game is kind of a time paradox in the sense that the consciousness left forward and then left back, so that's kind of a paradox in itself. But although, again, that's a paradox on a linear timeline. That's a linear straight line, whereas this is a paradox that goes, jumping between different timelines, which is different. I also wish it continued, because we got Dio's story, his generic, unrelatable story, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to show you one of the shelters. I would have liked to see more of that. What's the world like in this shitty state? Because if we are going in Zero Time Dilemma, we're going back in time to try and save the future, I would have liked to see more of the bad future, because it feels like we didn't get much of it. And we kind of got a little bit of it in Dio's end, but I wanted more. And we were still alive. I expected... Oh god, hiccuping. I expected Dio would kill us by the end of that ending. And he didn't. We were still alive, so... I wanted more. I wanted to see what the happenings were. Also, did Dio really not kill us? We know so much about his operation. We know he's a Myrmidon. We know other things. He really didn't think killing us was a smart idea? And if he did it off screen, which is kind of lame. If anything, the pathway should have ended with him killing us, but okay, if I'm getting back to ranking the endings, Dio's ending falls at the bottom. It's below Luna's and Kay's. Next, we got Tenmyoji's. It's the best ending. It is the best ending. Spoilers, it's the best ending. It is the best. The Quark story was awesome. We also got some Temioji stuff as well. And that gave us our first look at Zero. That showed us that Zero, something I didn't like, is that he kind of showed up to you and said, "I'm Zero." And I'm not a huge fan of that, because it revealed that it was a guy. And that kind of eliminated half the cast, because there's 5 guys, 4 girls. So they're basically saying, well, 4 of the girls are not Zero. And it just brings up, like, why would you reveal it that way? Granted, you could argue maybe you don't know for sure he's Zero, but he is Zero, so it's not a red herring. So yeah, that was a bit lame. But other than that, the story with Temioji and Quark and the way they treated that, and all throughout this whole line, like this line of getting to know Temioji and stuff, and also getting to know Quark at the end, and that was really good. I liked that a lot. So yes, and that did feel like a proper ending. Felt the most proper. His game over 2 is where Clover got out alone, and I'm kind of fine with that. Which, it's kind of funny how that game over is just, Temioji just doesn't get out. It's kind of lame. In a sense, it's not one of the better game overs, but in fact, it feels kind of sad that both of Temioji's game overs are Clover getting out. Like, really? That's kind of a shame to think of it that way. But it is true, so it's not the best game over, but whatever. One of my favorite game overs is definitely Dio's game over, but, and I also like Kei's game over. His is fine. But Temioji is actually, for as good as the regular ending is, the other ending is kind of weak. Okay. And then this ending, which was also, I mean, it was kind of weak, I guess. What even happened in this ending? Clover got out again, that's right, that's what happened. Oh yeah. That was funny because Clover seduced you in that one. And it's like, I'll do anything you say. No, she didn't say that. She said, I'll listen to anything you say. I feel like they should have went further with that. Like, have Clover, I don't know. I feel like if they're going to do that, have her go more bitchy. Because she tried to use you, and I liked that, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed her, I'll listen to anything you say. But I wish she went more, like, full, because once you get past that point, Clover's just like, okay, I'm gonna leave. And it's like, are you a sicko? Like, she's playing coy. I wish she continued her kind of, seductress mode act. Like, oh, I am listening to everything, but, like, you know, more of a, I don't know. I wish she went more seductive. I wanted my boner to be harder and longer. If we're getting a game over, let it be longer. Let Temioji get the boner. Let him share in my perversions. Let's go over to Quark's ending. Quark's ending is... Ooh, this one's not very good, actually. I just remembered what happens in this one. I'd say it is better than Dio's, but not by a lot. Because this ending, it ends in a really dumb way, because it just ends with Alice killing herself. And that happens all the time, so why is that an ending? Because this ending's whole purpose is that Dioshbag tries to be a Dioshbag, and you try to save Quark. And that part I liked. I really liked that part. I liked the, doing the noble thing, and that leading to the correct outcome, although that does raise some questions of why you couldn't take your bracelet off in certain other pathways, but nah. But I did enjoy that much, at least. However, the actual ending of the thing, where you save Quark and then Alice randomly kills herself because she gets Radical 6 too, that was lame. They could have definitely did a better ending there, because it feels like the whole point of that was just to give... What is it? The whole point of that was to give Akane's account to you, which is something they did in all the pathways, is... except for Clover's, which I can get to now, is they gave you something to either give to Luna's or Phi's, and those were the two big ones. Those are the ones that needed passwords. Sigma's gave you a bomb password, and it gave you a Luna password. Alice gave you a bomb password. Quark gave you the Jumpy Doll information. Temioji gave you a bomb password. Dio gave you a bomb password, and Kei gave you a Luna password. Clover, though, gave you a Neo-Stigmine, which was meant for Kei's pathway. I feel like they could have somehow either given Clover, maybe not a bomb password, but maybe they could have given you a Luna password, because you got a Luna password and a bomb password in this pathway. I feel like they could have split them up better. Anyways, getting to Clover's ending, it sucked. It's the worst one. Yeah. Worse than Dio's, worse than Quark's. Everybody killed themselves, and there wasn't even any dramatic build-up. It's just everybody died. This kind of shows off that everybody does have Radical 6, so I guess there's that. But comparing it to 999's ending where everybody dies, and that one there's a lot of build-up and suspense, because you start off, it's just you, Seven, and Lotus. And you end up going out, and you end up going into the hallway, and then you just see them all dead, and then there's that feeling of, oh my gosh, somebody's going on a rampage killing everybody. As opposed to in this game where it's just, oh, Radical 6 killed everybody. Which again, as I've said before, suicide makes it a lot lamer. It's a lot lamer when it's suicide versus somebody killing them. Because in that game you're like, oh shit, somebody killed everybody. Who is it? And even Ace is dead, so even if you figured out that at that point that Ace is dead, you gotta ask yourself, what? Okay, no, not figured out that Ace is dead. If you figured out Ace is the killer, you still gotta ask yourself, is it really Ace? And it is. But then you go further in, and it starts to get really creepy, because certain doors end up opening for no reason. And to be fair, I wanted a reason, and they never gave one. But it still adds a creepy factor to it. There is that much. And then you end up finding, you find Akane dead as well. And then you go crazy, and you have this big scene with her, because it's like, Connie! Connie! And then after that, you end up going back in, and you find Seven and Lotus dead too. And then you yourself get killed by a mysterious figure who turns out to be Ace. And I think that's the two big factors that play into that ending being way better. A, it's not suicide. That's the huge one. The fact that we're sure it's suicide in this one just makes it lame. Like, who cares? Like, okay, everybody's dead and now it's over. Who cares? It's lame. It's just you got information blurb from Clover about what's been going on with her life, which was fine, but then they're just, now everybody dies and it's over. In 99, again, it's not suicide. We know somebody's being the killer. And that's making us go, what? But on top of that, they die separately. Like, first you get Ace, Santa, Akane, and Clover. First you get them, then you get, Ace, Santa, Clover, it starts with just Ace, Santa, and Clover, I believe. Then you get Akane, then you get Seven and Lotus, and then you get yourself. So it's just that feeling of a dwindling party, which also adds to it, which is why I really enjoy that ending in that game. But in this game, this ending is lame. Lamest ending in the game. Probably laziest ending in the game. Clover game over. I enjoyed that one more. Oh, right, you try to leave, then they're like, no, Clover has to leave. And then she just leaves. I kind of wish you got to leave with Clover. I kind of wish they embraced that side of the Force. Like, you get to leave with Dio, but you don't get to leave with Clover. To be fair, I wish Clover's ending was getting to leave with Clover, but oh well. Alice's ending isn't the greatest either. Because you have the reveal, you have the confrontation with Dio. This should have been the path where it was revealed, I feel. It should have been in a bomb pathway. That would have made more sense, I feel. It should have been in a bomb pathway that it was revealed that he was the bomber. But yeah, in this pathway you confront Dio, you get him to fess up one of the bomb passwords in a bit of a silly way. Like, his other confessions made sense. This one was just kind of like, why would he bother? He's already dying, likely in pain, and he's still going to give you a password? Feels a bit silly to me. Feels like he'd do that if he was dying and like want you to stop torturing him, but the fact that he was already like taking the suicide pill and seemed like he was in serious pain, I don't think he would have told you a password, but that's one thing. On top of that, the confrontation is meh, because the build-up and reveal were meh, and in a lot of ways it feels like they're trying to do it they did with Ace, but it's just not as cool. And what else? Alice and Clover confronting Dio and taking them down. That was kind of cool, but Alice was really dumb, because she kept, like, being super emotional, like, die, you bastard! And it felt like they were playing that off all wrong. That's just another instance of, I feel like she's not very good as an undercover agent. If anything, Clover felt better in that instance, at least when it came to brute force. So, I mean, they took him down, but felt like they definitely could have done more in that pathway that was supposed to be Alice's pathway. And then after they get the bomb password, it's just like they look around and then they die. And there's not much climax to it. So, better than Clover's, better than Quark's, better than Dio's, worse than Luna's. Yeah. Then we got Sigma's. Alice's game over. That sucked. Alice's game over? Actually, no, I liked that one. I liked how how out of nowhere you're a good person so you die it was. That was kind of funny. And it makes for good reactions when you're a blind Let's Player. Because you're always going to have a negative reaction, probably. My first instinct there was to betray her, but then it's like, oh, she's not voting, I should probably ally. I wanted to betray her, but only because she wasn't voting did I ally, so it's like, oh, fuck you, Alice. Anyways, over at Sigma's pathway, his game over I also really liked. Because in that game over, like, you saw his hand, and it was white, and it was guzzling, and, to me, what that says to me, I know that when the author was asked this in a Q&A, he gave a different answer, but I don't like his answer. I'll say what his answer is, actually. His answer was that everybody just cut off Sigma's hand and used it and got out with it and got 9 BP. That sounds stupid to me. No offense to the author. Actually, yes offense, I think, because that's a really dumb explanation in my opinion, but if that's his opinion, I'll let that be his opinion. In my opinion, it's cooler to think that Dio cut off his hand or something, and then escaped solo with it, because Sigma at that point at 9 BP. And that's something I was thinking about through the whole game, is that there was going to be a trick to get out with somebody who had 9 BP without having 9 BP yourself. And there were a few different tricks, and they were never utilized, which is an issue I have with this game, because, like, they have the Neo Stigmine, they have the fact that Dio never was really a participant, they have the aluminum foil, and I feel like the real killer, it could have been cool if, like, all along, when anybody at all gets 9 BP, this would drive home the fact that everybody has to get 9 BP together. When anybody at all gets 9 BP, if anybody, just one person does, that this person, this sneaky killer, whoever it is, Dio, I guess, could kill them, take their bracelet or whatever, and just get out. And there are ways they could have potentially worked on a plot like that, but they didn't take advantage of them, which kind of sucked, because I would have liked to see something like that. Similar to how in the first game, Ace kind of, like, screwed with the system by taking the 0 bracelet, and, you know, you didn't realize, and he was kind of screwing with the numbers. Could have been similar to that, but just to more of an extreme. And they didn't do that, so, I mean, it wouldn't be, like, some people might argue, didn't I say it's bad to be repetitive? But that's not repetitive, I'm just saying that's kind of a similarity I'm drawing. What else about the Sigma end? Well, that was the Sigma game over. I feel like one person just could have taken it, and I would have liked that. In the Sigma end, because thinking that everybody took it just seems, I don't know, seems silly to me. Like, it doesn't make sense in character with a lot of the characters. His ending is kind of more or less meh. It's kind of just leading into the fact that he's probably, it's just kind of a build-up ending. It is his ending, though. So it's building up to the fact that in Zero Time Dilemma, yeah, he has a robot arm. And that's what it reveals, and it leads into Quark's ending as well. And, it brings up, it's kind of silly in the fact that they plot block you with the idea that you're a time-traveling robot, and then when you get back to it way later, well, at least if you do it in the order I did it with, it's just kind of like, yeah, you're not a robot, which I felt like you probably saw coming, and you just have robot arms. I feel like they could have made a bigger twist out of that, or handled that better, but, yeah, it's not one of the better endings. Let's see, if I had to compare it, I'd say it's an average ending. Probably better than Luna. No, not even. I think Alice is better because I do kind of like the confrontation's kind of like a shallow one, but I like how the girls get to put in some work, even though it's not as good as it could be. The Sigma one just kind of feels sort of abrupt, which shows the Alice one, but it feels abrupter. I don't know, so I think I put the Alice one above the Sigma one, and then the Sigma one above the Quark one, and then the Quark one above the Dio one, which is above the Clover one. Okay, last but not least, definitely not least, is the Phi one. So obviously there's the Phi game over, where, you know, you try to be what is it? You initially try to be a good person and pick ally, and then she's like, fuck you! So you go over and pick betray, and then you're like, well, fuck you anyways! So you fuck you either way. But then you go back, and then it's like, oh, okay, I'll let you fuck me. Even though, no, wait, what is it? Yeah, well, actually, it's the reverse. You can't fuck me, but I can fuck you. That's how, pretty much. But, and then this is the canon one. No, because Sigma can't get 9, but, I mean, it's fine, but, Now we get into the bombs. Before the bombs, though, I was thinking about something, actually, while I was getting into my little discussion. I don't know where I'm going with this. So, in the first game, granted, what I'm about to say matters more in the first game than it does in this one because of something I've already talked about, but this game is a lot worse at balancing the doors as far as what characters go into them. In 999, if we want to do a whole character count, sure, let's do that. Let's count by escape section. So, I think Ace has the fewest, because he has 4 escape sections. The 2 behind door 1, door 6. Then after that we got, let's see. I think, does Snake also get 4? Yeah, Snake also gets 4, because he gets 2 behind the last door and 2 behind one of the first doors. So he gets 4 as well. They both get 4. I believe that's the lowest number. Well, Santa and Akane both get the same amount due to plot reasons. They get 2 initially, then you get 2 more. No, so you get 5 with Santa and Akane. That's right. I believe you get 5 with Lotus. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, you get 5 with Lotus. So 5 with Lotus, Santa, Akane. 4 with Ace. 4 with Snake. That just leaves Clover, who you get 6 with, I believe. And then 7, who I think you get 7 with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, Clover's 6. But then 7, you get 1, 2, 3, 4. Or no, you get 8 with 7? No way. I think you do. Yeah, they give a lot of love to 7. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They gave you 8 doors when you're with 7. Wow. So they gave a lot of love to 7, but still, even the person you had the least number of doors with, which was Ace and Snake, you still got 4. And, it was fine for Ace to get a bit of a short stick because he's the villain. It's fine for Snake to get one because he's out of commission for a while. But next to that, we get 5 doors, 6 doors, 8 doors, so, a good, rounded number, except for 7, who has a bit too many, probably. In this game, though, the door ratio is not quite like that. All the girls get quite a few doors, because you end up pairing up with the girls, and I don't have a problem with that. That makes sense to me, given Sigma's pervy personality. I wish there was more that came of it, because it feels like for all the time we spent with the girls, there wasn't as much as there could have been in development-wise. But if we look at the guys, Tenmyoji we get a good bit with, as far as doors go. We get a few doors with him. In fact, let's count doors. Why not? You get 1 door with Phi, because you get the AP room with Phi. Then you get 3 doors with her, all the initial doors. That's 4 doors. You get 1 more door. I think you get 1 more door over here, so that's like 5 doors with Phi. You don't get any in the center, and you don't get any on the side either. So that's 5 doors with Phi, and then you get 2 more doors in the white door section. That's 7 doors with Phi. Let's see, then let's look at Alice, Clover, and Luna. Luna gets 1 initial door, Alice gets 1 initial door. Then, well, okay, let's do them one at a time. Luna gets an initial door, Luna gets 3 doors repaired with her, that's 4. Then she also gets a door in another place, that's 5. So Luna gets 5 doors. Alice gets the same way. Clover is kind of the same, because she gets 3 doors, and she gets 1 and 1, so she gets 5. Tenmyoji is the only guy with a lot of doors. He gets 1 initially, then he gets 1 in the middle pathway, so that's 2. And then he gets another 1 in a white door. So Tenmyoji gets 3 doors, which isn't as much as the ladies, but it's more than Cork, who gets 1 door, Dio, who gets 1 door, and Kay, who gets 1 door. Again, it's not as important in this game as it was in 999, because in 999 you get a lot of plot sections and character development sections in the doors. But it still means that, you don't have as much interaction with characters as you could have. Now with Dio, I mean, he's a villain, so it's whatever. And Quark is out of commission a lot, but still, it'd be nice to have at least 2 doors with everybody. I feel like they could have managed that. I know the system makes it kind of hard, but they could have made it easier if you didn't always have somebody on your side. That could have actually been an interesting use of the AB game, if you knew your enemy was 2 people. You had to think about how they would vote. Because you only did that once against Tenmyoji and Quark, I believe, and that was it. And I feel like that could have been an interesting thought experiment, if there were times where you were alone, like at least one of the doors where you were alone and you always fought two people. That also could have varied how many people you could be with and how many doors they could be with, and they could have made a more even number, I feel, instead of DOK and Cork all being stuck with one door each. I mean, I get Fi having, not Fi, Fi having the most, that does make sense, she's important, but I get the girls having the most because, you know, they're kind of, Sigma, it fits Sigma's perfect personality, and I'm fine with that, but, still, that's the thing. Getting back to the bombs, though. So, the bombs weren't handled the greatest. Obviously, the reveal wasn't good, but, other than that, it's just, again, you get them all from, like, you get 3 of the 4 from Dio. It's like, you get all of them, or you get 1 from everybody, but no, you get 3 of the 4, which is kind of weird. But on top of that, it feels like, you know, you get this drama building as you get to each of the bombs, and it feels like, I don't know, to me, it feels like every time you get to a bomb, there should be this feeling of, oh no, I have to go to another timeline and figure out what's going on, then come back, as opposed to, whatever, it's a bomb, moving on. And it feels like that's the feeling you get in this, in this bomb timeline, because before you even just start defusing the bombs, you need to have the big reveal. Well, the not so big reveal. But you can't get that reveal until you've already seen a good few pathways, and by then you already have a lot of the bomb passwords. So the fact there's the fact there's a bunch to be continued is kind of superfluous. Is that the word? Superficialist? I don't know. Because there shouldn't need to be that many to be continued when you should know a lot of the bomb passwords by now, anyways. But I feel it would be better if you got to a bomb and it's like, oh crap, what do I do? And there was a real feeling of what do I do? And you actually have to go to another pathway potentially to figure out what you do, and then come back and then solve it, get to the next one, then be like, oh crap. And then of course there's the 0 bomb, which, like, that's in a whole nother ballpark of an issue, because it just makes you ask yourself, like, where's the chicken and the egg, and where does it begin, where does it end? Is it a time loop? Is there some timelines we haven't seen that makes it not a time loop? Because as far as the ones we've seen, it's definitely a time loop. The 0 bomb and figuring out how it exists, and it's like they wanted it to be this ominous thing of, oh, that's right, there's a 0 bomb. We're cool because we're given a 0 bomb. And they take away any cool factor because the way you figure out about it and all that is kind of lame. As far as, if we're talking about lame reveals, not just the fact that Dio being revealed as the bomber is lame, the way the 0 bomb's existence is revealed is lame. Because it's just like, they kind of know. They get to that point and they're like, I wish there was another bomb. And then Fi's like, there is. Remember that one pathway where we found out about it because of the other pathway? Because I already knew about it in that one, probably because of possibly from this one. But it's a time loop, and I didn't like that aspect. But also, it just, they could have had a cool reveal with the 0 bomb, and it just feels like when you get to it, every time you get to it, probably what you're thinking is, that's a cool concept, but they could have done it. I probably could have seen it in a better way, and there is no better way, because there just isn't. Other thing I was thinking about while we're talking about the bombs, I kind of thought about a solution to this off-screen before I started recording this, but one thing that did come to mind is, where does the number 2 bomb password come from? I believe the number 2 bomb is the one that Future Sigma gives you. If I'm wrong about that, whatever. The one that he gives you. Because you gotta ask yourself, how does Sigma get the password for the bomb outside of Future Sigma telling him? That creates another loop of sorts. Now, I have since thought of a way that makes sense, and it has to do with crash keys. Remember that the number 2 bomb, and this is the one that Future Sigma tells you, is crash keys. Well, apparently, all the ones that Dio had were ones that related to his group somehow, like Myrmidons, Freezy Soul, and My Brother. But the other one, Crash Keys, actually relates to Akane. However, you don't actually know this unless you check out the creator's Q&A, which I have, and he mentions that Akane's group that she works for, like that we see at the end of the game, you know how, apparently, what was it? She talked about how Fi willingly came to their organization's headquarters and gave herself up, and you're like, wait, what organization? Apparently, yeah, Akane is part of a group. They say she's the leader, and I'm like, really? She's the leader? I find that a bit hard to believe at her age. Like, what kind of shit has she been doing up until the beginning of 999 that she's already got this big organization working for? But whatever the case is, she has an organization, and it's called Crash Keys. And that bomb, she actually altered herself and made that password, and then told Sigma what the password was, so he could tell past Sigma what the password is. I believe that's the explanation, so it's not really time loopy. Kind of. It's a bit hard to say. You could argue that because Sigma saw the password in the future, he told Akane to make it that way, but then you're just getting into the same kind of logic that you do in all this entire game. It's just retreading everything that they saw in the past. Now, moving past that, but yeah, moving past the bombs in general felt a bit anticlimactic because of that. You just kind of rushed through them instead of the fear of, oh, how do we get this bomb or that bomb? It's like they were meant to build suspense, and there really wasn't much suspense. Now, getting past the bombs, though, once we start to get to extra stuff, that's when, obviously, I start to really like it. There was some slow moments, like when you first beat Q, Akane talked a lot about nothing for a while, honestly. At least that's what it felt like to me, but then we start to really, like, go back into the past, and then go back forward, and, you know, she set up that she was in the suit the whole time, and then you got the explanation of how we're going to lead into Zero Time Dilemma, and that was cool. And I am excited for that. Hopefully my hopes aren't dashed, but, yes, hopefully I can be hopeful. Hope. So, as far as talking about Zero Time Dilemma goes, any theories or predictions? Is there anything else I'm missing, though? Let me try to jog my brain to think if there's anything I wanted to talk about that I didn't talk about that I could have talked about. Well, let's start with Another Time. Because Another Time was a kind of a big deal that I missed out on my first initial thoughts. So yeah, it seems to me like whoever the question mark character is that Akane was talking to that was inhabiting Kyle's body, that's probably some like mega time jumper that's going to end up being the main character of Zero Time Dilemma, I'm guessing. Which makes sense because they wouldn't want you to play as Sigma again, or because like the part of the joy of playing a game like this is, you know, experience it from fresh eyes. And if we play as Sigma in the next one as well, I could see it being a bit lame. So giving us someone new makes sense. At first I thought it might be K when they said K jump back in time, but definitely seems like it's going to be that question mark guy. So I'll be interested to see what that's all about. One theory I actually had is, what if it's Logomorph? Because I don't know if I brought this up in the LP, because I haven't edited that part yet, but because they talked about how he knew all the things in the facility, and but he knew things that he shouldn't know, because Kyle shouldn't know them. But like, who else knows what went on in that facility? Again, it could be some mega time jumper that somehow saw this stuff without actually being there. But what if it's somehow Logomorph, like his consciousness, like as an AI, he got so advanced that he left the computers and somehow planted his mind into Kyle. Like, we've seen trippy stuff in this series. I would not be surprised, and it'd be really cool because Logomorph would be a character, and I would love it. Because I love Logomorph. So that's a cool theory I've thought of. As far as theories going into Zero Time Dilemma, I think Clover and Alice will probably make some kind of appearance based on the fact they were alluding to the Schrodinger's cat thing. I hope Cork makes an appearance. I hope they have some big role for him. I don't know if they will. Left will likely show up in some form. I think it's a bit confirmed that he's likely going to show up in some form. I don't know how quite they're going to do it. He's probably going to have plastic surgery, because they can't just have a Left be in the game, because they'll be like, hey, you look like Dio, you're probably a bad guy. So they can't do that. What else? I think he said, the creator said in his Q&A that a lot of the old characters are going to have some stories explained, like what's been going on with Light and Ace and Seven and Santa. Santa's a big one, so I'll be very interested what's going on. Maybe Santa dies in that one, like, well, not in the true ending, but in the true ending, as in the sense that the ending that leads into this game's existence, maybe Santa dies. I don't know. Because I think there's going to be 9 participants in this next game. I thought that maybe 18 could be a cool number, but I think I already know that there's going to be 9. I think that was revealed at some point. But if there was 18, that could be cool, because that could have a good well-balanced cast of newcomers and oldcomers. If there's just 9, it feels like a bit of a small number. But we'll see. Maybe they can make it work. I don't know for sure, but we will see. What else? As far as predictions go, Fi, I don't have a clue. I don't know if she's going to be related to Brother in any way. Actually, one theory I saw on the internet And ever since I read it, I'm like, that makes sense. Maybe Phi is somehow going to be Sigma's daughter. And I say that because throughout this whole game, Phi kept saying she had some... Well, not throughout the whole game, but during certain moments, Phi kept saying she had some weird familiarity to Kay. And it was never really explained why. A brotherly-sisterly relationship could explain why. It also could be explained by the fact that maybe she somehow subconsciously knows that he's a clone of Sigma and she trusts Sigma. But then there's the fact that in a Q&A, someone asked, will Sigma... And this is something I felt as well. Someone asked, will Sigma and Phi ever be romantically involved? And he flat out said no. And to be fair, I don't see them as a romantic couple. Like, a lot of people, they'll just see a guy and a girl, or even sometimes they'll see gay people, and be like, okay, they have to be a couple. Just because people can be good, really good friends, doesn't mean they're going to end up being romantically involved. So I didn't really see Sigma and Phi as a couple. But on top of that, if you take that into account with the theory that, oh, maybe she has a camaraderie with Kay, maybe she's somehow Sigma's daughter. Like, maybe. Because we learned very little about her role in Virtue's Last Reward. Now, I'm not going to be disappointed at all if that turns out to be true, because this is a very crack theory right now. I will have that in the back of my mind going into the next one, though. That will be like, maybe, kind of in the back of my mind. Whose brother? If it's somebody that from the existing cast, I don't know. I saw one crazy theory that, what if Akane is somehow brother, and she's really been controlling everything forever in all 3 games? I hope not. That would be really dumb. I'm guessing brother's going to be a new character. He could be someone who already exists in these games. That would be a bit of a shocker for me, honestly, but... other than that, I'm not really sure what to expect. And that's a good thing, because... I know we're going to have the Radical 6 going on. There's going to be one bad ending that leads into this game. Although it's funny that she killed everyone, she says. That's something I'm curious about, because Radical 6 doesn't make you kill other people. It makes you kill yourself. I actually wasn't even thinking about this before I started recording this. Yeah, so maybe she didn't get overcome with Radical... Like, it said soon 6 billion. Like, that, like, it's her fault. Like, something she did somehow led to that. I don't think she's the mastermind then, unless she has a split personality. There's a possibility. What if she has a split personality and she winds up being the mastermind? Because that's another thing I thought of in this game. Like, you know, one possibility was, you know, his consciousness warps back in time. One possibility was this is Second World Sigma, you know, like DBZ theory. One possibility was split personality, which didn't end up being true. Maybe that's what it'll be, like, she has a split personality and somehow she causes Radical 6 to outbreak. I don't know, but, other than that, I don't know if she'll be the big villain or not, but she seems to feel like she's responsible in some way. So that shall be interesting to see. Although, if Kay did take over somebody else's consciousness in the past, then I guess it can't really be Logomorph, but that is something I thought of, like, maybe somehow Logomorph is involved. Like, again, time travel could get really crazy in the next game. I'm expecting it to. I'm ready. My body is ready. I heard there's going to be a dog. I don't know if the dog is going to be a participant, but I know there's going to be a dog in the game. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know if Phi and Akane are participants. I don't think they are, because they're alive at this point in the game, even though only 2 people were supposed to have lived through that first one. And again, Akane doesn't know much about it. I'm sure Akane will be in the game, and I'm sure Sigma will be in the game. Not Sigma, sorry. I'm sure Akane and Junpei will be in the game, but I don't think they're actually going to be one of the participants. Other than that, I don't know if Clover or Alice will take part. They'll probably be in the game. Like, we'll probably have, like, 7 and stuff in the game, but the rest of them, like, 7, 8, 9, will probably be all new participants? I don't know. If they bumped their number up to 18, I could see them having a lot more returning characters, but I just don't know if they're going to do that. I feel like it would be appropriate if they went for, like, an 18 character thing. Like, 2 rounds of 9. Like, that could be interesting, actually. If there was 2 groups of 9 and they were kind of, like, fighting against each other. Like, if one group succeeds, the other fails. And the true ending, of course, would be somehow if they both succeed, I guess. It'll be interesting to see what it's like being with Sigma, not playing as Sigma. And we had that with Junpei. But with Junpei, very different character at this point. And we didn't know from the start it was Junpei, whereas in this, we're going to know it's Sigma, so... I mean, maybe we'll play as Sigma, but I don't think so. Or maybe we'll play as more than one character. That could be interesting, actually, if they somehow did that. Like, if you do have Junpei in there as well, you could have like one point of view playing as Junpei, one point of view playing as Sigma, one point of view playing as a new guy. Like, and then you'd have a protagonist from each game, even though the protagonist from the new game would be new, but that's one thing, I guess. Or if there are 2 groups of 9, maybe each group would have a protagonist. Like, maybe one group would have a new guy, and one would have Sigma. Or hell, what if one has Phi, and one has Sigma, and they're forced to work against each other? That could also be a neat concept, but I don't... They're more for camaraderie, so at this point I don't think they'd want to turn them against each other. But, yeah, so I think that's about it. But one thing I did want to try out while I'm here, because in 99 when I ended on an interesting note, because I watched the intro for the first time. But at this point, I've already watched the intro, so I can't really do that. However, I have not at all listened to the Japanese voices. That's something I want to try out. Let's quickly go ahead to... elevator after escape. Let's listen to some of these Japanese voices. I'm curious. What do they sound like in Japanimation? Say something. Say something! I want to hear my Asian Phi! Ooh, higher pitch than I expected. Interesting. They do that a lot, though, in English. They take... Because a lot of Japanese things tend to have really high-pitched voices for a lot of their things. And when they translate them to English, they'll sound sometimes a lot deeper because of that. So sometimes people go from Japanese to English. There's a lot of whiplash. And English to Japanese, it's not as much whiplash for me because I don't even know what they're saying, but, yeah. Well, I am a sick she just said OGG. The text says you sick bastard, but I know some Japanese, she just used the term you use when you're referring to an old man, like a grandpa. It's using it in a disrespectful way. So to be fair, she does think I look old, though, like, because she even says at certain points, like, you had to do some serious drugs to look like that at 22. There's some good foreshadowing for that, actually. But, yeah, that's some foreshadowing right there, because she said the old man thing. She played the old man card. Alright, let's listen to some other characters. We've got enough Phi. Let's listen to everybody else now. And your robot legs. How did she know she could moon jump before it was revealed? She's a magical robot. Ooh, I feel like I recognize that. Probably from One Piece. That's like, or Case Closed. Those are the only shows I've watched in Japanese in a long time, is One Piece and Case Closed. Most other things I do in English at this point. It's just Case Closed. There is no English anymore. And One Piece, it's just so far ahead that waiting for the dub. I'm trying to wait for the dub. I haven't watched any in a while, but recently, like, even still, I'm gonna count that as recent, because other than that, it's pretty much just that. Oh, I definitely recognize that. I'm not sure from where, though. And I can definitely recognize that kind of voice. One other show I've watched recently in Japanese, I'll go ahead and plug it because it's awesome and you should. March and Awakens Romance, which, or MAR for short, it's really good. I really like it. It's kind of a unique show in the fact that it had its manga, and its manga was good, but then the manga had the ending really rushed. So when it came to an anime, basically the creator told the animators how to make the ending better. And a lot of people think the ending is a lot better, including myself. But then the freaking Viz people, they dubbed it, and they only went halfway, because they were too fixated on Naruto and Bleach. But, whatever the case is, the second half you really can't find in English, which is why I'm circling back to the point of stuff I've watched in Japanese recently, because, I've watched that not too recently, but recently-ish. I watched MAR, and I finished it, and it was amazing. And you cannot really find it legally. So, but if you ever could, I would scoop it up because I love it. The animes. I'm not really interested in the manga because it has a bad ending. But anyways, yeah. That is some whiplash. Okay, when I heard Phi's, I'm like, that makes sense. When I heard Alice's, I'm like, that makes sense. Okay, they play him very differently in Japanese versus English. Like, that is a generic old man voice if I've ever heard one. The English version feels a lot more like, he's not old, he's just he's like upper middle age. That's what he feels like. He feels like he's a cranky upper middle aged man. That's a clear old age man, and also it's more of a higher pitched old age. There's what I was saying about higher pitches. Huh? Nashi des? Sorry. Des is one of those words I also know, of course. Actually, I don't even know what des means. I know I've heard it a lot. Desuka! But I don't really know what it means. I know the general idea. So this sounds basically like what I thought it would sound like, but Laura Bailey does it, again, more of a lower pitched style. Same with Fi. Fi is higher pitched in Japanese. So is Luna. I didn't know if they were going to go that high with Luna in Japanese, just based on the stuff she does later. I'm kind of curious in some of her later stuff if that's the case, because I'm interested in how they do it, because with Laura Bailey, in her English version, she's not as high-pitched normally, so when she goes monotone towards the end, it feels creepy, but it feels right. Whereas with her, I'm not sure how they would play that. The only ever voice actor who I've ever really complimented, as far as Japanese voice actors go, well, there's two. One is the person who plays L in Death Note, as well as Usopp in One Piece, Kappa Yamaguchi. He's great. What else? Also English L is great, but I'm talking about Japanese people. I could go on forever about English voice actors, but for Japanese ones, there's that one. Actually, that's actually a third one. I meant to say a different one, and then I said him, and I was like, oh, no, there's more then. Also, who plays Okabe in Japanese Steins Gate? I'd have to hear it again. I've only heard, like, one clip from him, but it was that good. It's his son of a bitch clip. You know what I'm talking about, if you know what I'm talking about. That was awesome. And the other one is the Japanese Orochimaru, who also, I believe, plays Japanese Caesar Clown. And I think it's a female that does that. I learned that recently. I'm like, are you crazy? She's like amazing if that's a female, even if it's a male. Because she sends chills down my spine. Normally when I'm listening to Japanese voices, like I just kind of go with the motions, and I really don't get too invested in what they're saying or how they're saying it. I mean, I get invested in what they're saying, but not how they're saying it. But with her, like, I feel the fear when she speaks to me as Orochimaru or as Caesar. I'm like, that's some good stuff there. Oh, also Frankie's Japanese voice is awesome. I forgot about that one. So, okay, I guess there's 4 voices I can compliment. Probably more if I really thought about it, but nah. Ooh, there's a really young boy voice. Even younger than the English Quark. And that already sounds kind of young. Oh, that really sounds like a kid. That sounds like a kid that could get on my nerves. I don't know if that's a female playing a good kid or not, but in general, like, Japanese people just tend to sound higher pitched when they do things. I wonder why. Probably, maybe it's more attractive in Japanese to be higher pitched. Because I know over here, you know, deep is sexy, but over there it might be the opposite. In fact, yeah, I think I've heard of that, you know, it's sexier to be higher pitched, but nah. Anyways, wait. Which one of you is Dio? Okay, that sounds basically what I thought you would sound like. Okay. That's pretty generic, but that's fine. Alright. Nice to meet you too. Alright, nice to meet you. I definitely, I usually don't compare voice actors, but English Quark was super good for me. I really like, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but whoever plays Quark did a really good job. Also Logomorph. Oh, I gotta hear him speak, because English Logomorph is also a boss. Yes, let's get to Logomorph showing up, because I am curious. Oh my god, hurry up! I want to hear Logomorph. I mean, no offense to all of you, you're fine. I don't really dislike any of your voices. Oh, that's right. I haven't gotten to these guys yet. Kay and Clover, I forgot about them. What do you guys sound like? What the? Who the hell?
Yotsuba!
Oh, Yotsuba, that's right. I first heard Yotsuba, I'm like, Yotsuba group! Because that's a Death Note thing, but, okay, that's, in Japanese, she's just named Yotsuba. Okay, so that's interesting, actually. See, a lot of these characters, I've been hearing Dio call Quark Quark. I heard that. And I'm pretty sure Phi is still Phi. I mean, I don't know for sure, actually. The only one I know of her for sure is Quark. But some of the names seem to be the same between English and Japanese, but Yotsuba is still Yotsuba. And I know that's 4-leaf clover in Japanese, but, That's kind of interesting. Clover?
大丈夫四つ葉しっかりして
I say this, normally I don't judge too harshly on English or Japanese one way or the other, but, and Tara Platt, who I believe plays Alice, I like her as a voice actor. I feel maybe she didn't do the best job as Alice. Because even though it's hard for me to judge Japanese voice acting, I feel I can hear the intent behind this voice clip, and I'm remembering the intent behind the other one, and I think this one works better. Because the English one, it felt like she was more angry, and maybe that's just the direction that they wanted to take with the English version of Alice. But here, it feels like she's more worried. Whereas, again, in the English one, it was like, Clover! Clover, the fuck! Let me listen to more of this, because I know there's one line where she yells at Kay, like, what did you do to her? Let me listen to how they do that one.
あなたこの子に何をしたの
It's hard to judge. This is one of those cases where it's in Japanese, so it's hard to judge, but I know the one in English felt like Alice was being a bit too much of a bitch. The one in Japanese, I feel like the bitch levels aren't as high. Hard to say, though, because I don't understand Japanese, but... Ooh, interesting. That could be Kappa. I don't know. It's a lot harder, obviously, for me to distinguish Japanese than English voice actors, but, and yeah, that's similar to what I thought he'd sound like. And again, much higher pitch than his English version, because in Japan, higher pitch is sexier. Let me hear Japanese Clover. I have a feeling I'm gonna like her more. I mean, no offense to English Clover, I think she's fine, it's just, when I first saw her, it was really jarring, and I think Japanese voice might fit my expectations better. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Also, Japanese K is fine. English K was fine as well. If I listen to more Japanese K, I might say if I liked him more or not. Because I feel like they have a really good mysterious feel with Japanese K. To be fair, though, it's in Japanese, which makes it more mysterious to me, so there's that. Okay, I take, you know how I said he sounds like a generic old man? I take it back. He doesn't sound quite that old. Which makes me like English Tenmyoji better. Because I was going to say I was fine with either interpretation. But actually, I think I like English Tenmyoji better. Because Japanese Tenmyoji, at least from that one line, sounds like he's not playing it super old. He's playing it sometimes old, but sometimes not quite that old. So I definitely... And I like the punk attitude the English version takes. I feel it's fitting in a lot of ways. So... I think I like English Tenmyoji better. But I'd have to see how he plays some of those aggressive scenes. Oh, that's like the other end of the spectrum. English Clover is too low-pitched. Japanese Clover, from that one line, sounds too high-pitched. Well, let's hear more. I feel like if they made it a bit lower-pitched, without going as low as they did in the English version, I would have liked her voice more. I think a middle ground would have been best, but... Nah, I grew on the English Clover, but at first it was jarring. Oh, there we go. Oh! Oh, do I recognize this at all? I don't know. It's hard to top English Zero, but... do I recognize it from anywhere? Maybe. You still get the sass from him, that's for sure. But I don't know if I recognize him at all. Pretty much, I don't want to say it's what no, that's pretty much what I expected, yeah. What do we got? Alright. I do like English Zero quite a bit, so let's see if this can top it. What voice will they use for Sigma in the next game? Will they use Troy Baker's? Because I think that's the idea, is that Kay, like, because, what's his face? I'm blanking on his name. The guy who plays Kay, no, when he's in the suit, isn't the same as the one who doesn't play him out of the suit. Because when he's out of the suit, he's played by Troy Baker, I believe. But and I think that's supposed to be the voice Sigma would have at that point, and that's the voice Sigma has in the OVA. So I think that's the voice they're gonna go with in the sequel. That's gonna be interesting because he's gonna have to play himself as like angry Sigma, as opposed to playing himself as not even Sigma before, playing himself as K and not even K. So that will be interesting if they decide to go that route. He talks a big game. He talks kind of slow. Yeah, I'm noticing he's talking really slow, which I think the English version did too, but I didn't notice it as much, I guess. Nah, voice is fine. Nothing special. Let's do Golem. Where do we got Golem? Golem's in Luna's timeline. Golem Bay after escape. Let's do Golem, and then I think this is the last one. There's a couple other. Well, I could do Akane's, I guess. Maybe. Oh, I could do Troy Baker. Alright, English is better. Straight up, English is better. Based on that one line, that's all I need. Because the funniness comes from the way he says it, pretty much. And you can't understand the way he says it in Japanese. That's another one, though. This is another line where, again, like, I can't tell in Japanese, and I like that voice. I like that line quite a bit in English, but, like, Japanese, I can't tell if I'd like it, so, yeah. All the sans and the stuff. Sigma-san! Yeah, I can tell probably in the Japanese version he was just meant to be like an Osakian? Because, like, just like how Lotta Hart in the Japanese version of Ace Attorney was, like, she was from Osaka, which is kind of like a punk place, but, she wasn't, like, over here she's a southerner, so, and I think it's similar to this, what they're doing, I'm guessing, I don't know, but Golem's definitely better in English, so, no offense to him, he just is. Let's hear Troy Baker, the Japanese equivalent of Troy Baker. What the hell? Where's the voice? There's no Japanese voice clips for this scene? Really? That is an intriguing fun fact. This scene is fully voiced in English, so huh. Really? I was not expecting that. What about the other one? Is this voiced? Oh man, oh, I'm curious, curiouser and curiouser. So they voiced a whole new scene in English that wasn't voiced in Japanese? Oh, that's interesting. Well, based off the scream, I guess it's voiced. Maybe. Yeah, this is at least voiced. Alright, what's Akane sound like? In English, Akane has the same voice as that reporter, actually, so it'll be interesting to hear, if I can sense a difference at all. Sense a difference? Hear a difference. That sounds kinda, if that was a chipper voice, I could hear that as like a Clover, honestly. Although I could still hear that as an Akane voice. Falcon kick! Alright, what do we got? Old Akane, what does she sound like? And then after this, I guess I'll be done. I guess there is no Japanese equivalent to Troy Baker. That's pretty much what I expected.
お待ちしてましたよ。シグマさん、ファイさん。
Oh, she's got this really motherly soundingness to her Japanese voice. The English voice, okay, I feel like this fits with the idea that she doted on Kay, because in English she sounds a bit more like a cranky old lady. I feel like that's not a bad thing, just a different take. Because in Japanese they say in the game that, you know, she was a mother figure for Kay, and, you know, she even had some goofball tendencies, and the way she delivered that line, it sounded a lot more motherly than anything I heard from the English version. Now, the English version isn't bad. I just feel the English version, they're playing her more dejected, which I'm fine with. So that's interesting.
話の続き聞きに来たのでしょ?
Yeah, definitely more motherly sounding. But okay. I'm not going to go ahead and say which voices I prefer in which language. I'm not going to bother. Well, I mean, the ones I've said are the ones I'm going to say. Anything else, I don't care to differentiate. But so that was a fun little experiment. And I learned the fun fact that this last cutscene is not voiced at all in Japanese. That's interesting. So that's the end of the LP, I guess. Those are my thoughts. Those are my stuff. For you guys, it's going to be a couple more months before I start up Zero Time Dilemma, probably. Because I'm going to be starting to record it almost as soon as I can, and I'll be uploading it probably as soon as I can. It's just the uploads will eventually likely lag behind the recordings, because they usually do. But for me, it's been about a year now since I finished recording this game, so I did get to re-watch it by editing the videos, but it's still going to be nice to actually get the conclusion to this story finally after a year of waiting, kind of. But that will be, you know, a couple months from now, so I will see you then. I wanted to end it on a joke, and now I can't think of a joke. I was going to say bye-bye, and then say a witty one-liner to end it, and then I couldn't think of a one-liner. But you know what I could think of? The fact that I still can't think of an outro phrase, so it's fitting. But chi. Yeah. That wasn't funny. I'm sorry.